Hey everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. Today, I'm really excited to have with me on the show Frehley's Comet singer, guitarist, keyboardist, and songwriter Todd Howarth. We'll also touch on his time playing with Cheap Trick and 707, and we'll also catch up with everything Todd is working on right now. I think you guys will be really excited to hear all about it. I'd like to take a moment and thank Todd for being extremely generous with his time and spending nearly an hour and a half with me. I look forward to doing it again in the future. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcast feeds, subscribe there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. Now, without further ado, let's get started with my conversation with Todd Howarth. Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. Today I'm super excited. I have a very, very special guest with me. He needs absolutely no introduction. Ace Frehley fans, Kiss fans know him. Say hello to Todd. How you doing, Todd?
Mike, how you doing? How's everybody out there? And thank you very much for having me.
No, I'm so excited to have you on. Let me just ask you, obviously we're all in the middle of a pandemic right now. How are you keeping yourself busy during the days? What's going on in your life?
Oddly enough, nothing, schedule-wise, nothing has changed for me except for with some of the projects we've had, like Return of the Comet and 4x Fate, we can't play out.
Sure.
And we had to cancel a few shows. But personally, at home, I go to work. I manage our family's business real estate every day, which just entails about a little under 2 acres of property. Wow. But I'm also working on mostly whatever hobby cars or Harleys or motorhomes or whatever the problem of the day is.
Sure.
I mean, my wife's, mine, and my father's, and then after I'm doing what I'm done doing there. I go in the studio like I just was there for 4 hours, and I just recording. And then usually I don't get home till about 8 o'clock at night. So this is an early night for me.
Okay, well, I appreciate you taking the time here. So
sure.
What I want to do is maybe let's just start like at the early ages of your life. What age did you start playing guitar, playing in bands? What music did you grow up listening to? What age did that all start coming together for you?
I was about in the early 60s. I remember my dad was listening to all kinds of big band music, and I love music. I mean, I could hear all the notes and the orchestrations and melody lines through whatever was playing on my dad's reel-to-reel. And he had a reel-to-reel.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, he had one in the back of one of his cars. Like fascinating. I was sitting there like,
wow.
Look at that. God.
Oh, that's cool.
But my influences. We're all melody and song construction then, because I was just, like I said, fascinated with it. And I didn't start playing any instruments until my dad got married to my stepmom in 1966.
Okay.
He met her, I think, late 64, and she had a piano. So when we go to her house, I would get on there and, I was like, hey, now.
Right.
And my stepmom said, he's got talent. You need to make him take lessons, And they did, So I took lessons. Actually, I took lessons and quit 3 times through the course of I don't know, maybe 5-6 years. Because I'm a good student, but I was always hearing songs and melodies that I wanted to play.
Sure.
I didn't want to learn how to play correctly. Okay. I just wanted to play and, get out there and do that. So piano was the first instrument. But I had also been singing prior to that.
Okay.
When the Beatles came out, in 64, when they became popular in America in 64,
right.
I heard all the voices and all the harmonies, and I was fascinated. So I would sing different parts every time I put on the record. Okay. Yes, they were records back then. That was my influence. And through the years, I had a couple of bands in my junior high, usually just 2 guys or 3 guys.
Okay.
Bass player, 2 guitar players, and a drummer. So drummer guy, a friend of mine, he used to leave his drum set over at our house. So when he'd leave, I go, oh, yeah. A lot of those. So that's what I did there. I mean, I played a lot of drums, not well, but I played a lot of drums when I was a teenager. but I also picked up the guitar, and I was, singing and learning guitar and learning drums and bass badly.
You were like a
And
one-man band, basically.
yeah, and that's what I'm doing right now, but we'll get into that later.
Sure.
But yeah, that was it. It was primarily vocals first, and piano was primary instruments.
Amazing. So at what point, so I know like in the early 80s, you joined 707, right? And I think they already were a little bit established. They'd already had one, I'll
Very
say,
established.
moderate hit. I think it was called I Could Be Good For You, I think it was, if I remember right.
Yes.
So you joined them. How did you end up joining them? How did they find you?
Well, I moved to LA in late '79, and I started pounding the pavement immediately there. And I was doing the whole Hollywood thing, and I had when I first moved up there, I had long. My hair's brown, or it was brown. It's gray now. I don't know what the hell color it is.
At least you have it, unlike me.
Well, it's I have hats now because it just looks a little better. But
okay, there you go.
I've still got it, but it's not as thick as it used to be, I suppose.
Right.
But I moved to LA, and my hair was real long, and I was real skinny, and I had a mustache, but I shaved that quickly because that was a bad thing to have in the late 80s. Have a mustache. And I was playing a bunch of heavy rock stuff out there. I had we put together some bands up there. And then I would go to a place called Starwood, which is no longer there in Hollywood. And of course, the Troubadour and the Whiskey A Go Go. And at the Starwood, I saw a lot of bands, and I did see 707 with the first original lineup. And I liked the band because I was into heavier stuff, but I liked what they had. They had a nice, moody and dark feel and good feel to the band.
Yep. And
then, oddly enough, I had heard that they later on they were looking for somebody. Some friends of mine had said, "Hey, this band is looking for a guy to play a guitar and keyboard and sing and write songs." That's me,
Right.
So I got a hold of the management, and they had said, "We just hired somebody else to go on a tour, so thank you very much. We'll keep your number and records on file." I said, "Oh, sure you will." But if after that tour they didn't call me up, say, "Hey, we let the other guy go, and we'd like to audition you." Now this is at the same time. This was late '80 or '81, I believe. And at the same time they'd called me up. I was in this other band, of which we had just auditioned for Gene Simmons.
Oh, really?
And, Diana Ross for one of her concerts. And this band had some shows. And so
what was the name of that band?
It was called it was an artist called Mickey Free.
Okay, yep.
On the joined Shalimar. And did do some other stuff. And pretty good looking guy, very charismatic guitar player, singer. There's more about him in my book. I'll say that much. But anyhow, I got the gig with 707 after the second audition because the first one I was too Hollywood.
Okay.
And so the second one, the management said, "Look, tone it down. Don't have all your Hollywood look. You bring down a little bit more Midwestern rock with a tie and shit." So I mean stuff. Can you cuss?
Yeah, whatever you want. It's all good for me.
Much. I do, but I won't. So I dressed it down, and I did the second audition, and they were like thrilled, And at the time we had done the audition with Gene Simmons and Diana Ross, I already knew I was bailing. Right. And we had a tour lined up. The band had a tour lined up to go out with REO Speedwagon in their High Infidelity tour. And that was huge. And that is the biggest tour to date I've ever done.
Really? Interesting. And how many months was that? Was it an American tour?
It was over a period about probably, it's hard to remember. I think maybe over half a year we kept doing tours and shows with them. And the smallest crowd was 8,000, and of course the largest were these big festivals of 60,000 people, 50,000 mayy. And I was thinking, I'm on my way. This is it. Sure. I have made it.
Right.
Dumbass. That was nowhere near the case. It was just a section of my life.
Right. But now, while you were in that band, of course, Kiss fans know you wrote the song Megaforce.
Right.
And that's what Jonathan Cain has a song right on that, if I'm not mistaken, right? So how did that, what was his role and how that come
Oh,
about?
that's the book too, but I'll tell you.
Okay.
The management was approached by the film company to do a song for this particular movie, and great, we can do that. So I had some ideas, and Kevin Russell had some ideas, and we kind of co-wrote the basic idea, Megaforce, and I came up with the melody line, the vocal melody line, and a lot of the guitar parts to it. I mean, I'm not going to take away credit from Kevin Russell because he's a good guitar player and he writes some pretty cool stuff. And that was the era of that type of material. So we wrote the tune. Jim McClarty, the drummer, very good musician and very good lyricist. And he played piano too very well.
Okay.
And he wrote the lyrics for it. So we're all ready to write, to record a song. We got it all down. Kevin Chalfant, tremendous singer, singing a lot, So we go down to L.A. because at this point we were up in San Francisco. Sure. We go down to L.A. to record it to Keith Olsen's studio in North Hollywood.
Okay.
Pat Benatar's producer. And we're like, oh, this is going to be great. So we go in there and, I walk in there and there's Keith, and here's Jonathan Cain. And I know Jonathan Cain because I was a big Babies fan. I'm like, Jonathan Cain, hey, nice to meet you, Hey, nice to meet you. I see a keyboard set up in the studio console. What's going on here? He says, oh, Jonathan's got an intro for the song. I'm like, oh. Okay. And me being new, I'm going, oh, okay, great.
Right.
So he's got this syncopated thing, and it's all pre-programmed. And listen to it and go, all right, not bad. Yeah, whatever. And so we record the song, get that out, and I'm sure there's more details in the book. Yeah. But record the song and we put it out. It's on the record, or getting ready to be put on the record. And we get a letter from Jonathan Cain's attorney.
Uh-oh.
He wants songwriting credits. And I'm one of the main songwriters to go, no, he didn't write the song. He just put up the intro. Well, I was naive and young and part of the song, dumbass. Right. So that was the lesson I learned there. Like,
oh, that's funny.
Hope you're ever doing that again.
Right. Very funny. Now, what happened? Right. So the song came out, the album came out, moderate. It was part of the movie, right? But what happened with the band then at that point?
Well, the band was having a few internal problems. It actually started before that. The problems were stemming from the fact that our managers were failing us, and we looked for new management. And we had toured with Ted Nugent, and Ted and his co-manager had expressed interest in managing us, in which they did for a while. But it was at the time when the label Neil Bogart had passed away, and so we lost our voice in Boardwalk. Was it Boardwalk Records? I think
so.
Casablanca Boardwalk, and that kind of failed us, and the interest was waning. And then also we had heard Big Heavy Rock is coming back, and I knew that was coming because I was always heavier than 707 was. I wanted to really play Van Halen type stuff because that was my main influence when I left LA. Was like Van Halen rock. I loved that stuff, But we kind of got pushed the wayside. But we got the movie. The movie didn't do so well. It's a cult movie now. It should be because. I got to be honest. I'm an off-roader and desert rat, and I have sand rails and motocross and all that stuff. And we saw the movie in San Francisco. I digress here. We saw the movie in San Francisco, and we all looked at each other in the theater like, "What the hell is this? It's the worst movie ever."
Oh no!
Which makes it great now,
right?
And then our songs at the very end of it. It was just pretty much a letdown. Right. We had some problems in the band with I will say it was between the new lead singer Kevin Russell, the guitar player, me, a bass player had left. I got another bass player, Felix Robinson from Angel, great guy. And it just became so tumultuous that it fell apart. And at one part, they fired me. We're going to have to let you go. Okay, all right, fine. And then they figured out they really couldn't write a lot of songs without me. 2 weeks later, the manager said, "You need to come back."
Okay.
This was actually before the original managers left. But I can't really fault anybody because everybody's trying to survive and do the best for what they felt was best for them at that point in time.
Sure. So now that's like, it sounds like it's like 82, 83, right? So
That was 83. Well, you are good, Mike. You
I try to know my stuff.
better than I am of the time.
Well, you lived it. I read about it. So for you, it's just part of your life. I read about it because this is the stuff that interests me, right? So
That's so kind of flippantly crappy to I lived it, but hell, I don't remember. But that's the truth. You go,
of course.
Well, what girlfriend was I with? That's a timeline for me. It's what girl was I seeing at the time.
A friend of mine and I were talking about different things we recorded when we were kids, and we were like, if I had to sit there and ask what I did when I wrote the song, I don't know. And I don't have a music career, right? I was just living in the moment. My friends and I were having fun, So
right.
Again, I read this stuff, so that's why. So it was 1983 or so.
Yes.
Ace Frehley had started doing his solo stuff like 85. How do you end up? He was playing with Richie Scarlett at first.
Right.
Richie Scarlett leaves. I think he wanted to pursue a solo career. How do you get in with the Frehley's Comet group?
Well, at 83, okay. Well, let's jump to Frehley's Comet. How I got into that. I eventually, after Ted Nugent, I went and played. I ended up playing with Cheap Trick.
Oh, okay.
Because when 707 fell apart, I moved back down to San Diego, and I ended up playing with Ted Nugent pretty much all of '84, and then that ended. And Cheap Trick had gotten a hold of me because I played with John Brandt, the bass player, the replacement bass player. Actually, Tom was let go. Pete Comita came in, and then John Brandt came in.
Okay.
And I played with Pete Comita and John Brandt in L.A. with the Mickey Free Band.
Okay.
So now I'm playing with Cheap Trick. Fast forward, I'm playing with Cheap Trick, and we're on tour with John Waite.
Okay.
And John Waite was promoting his "I Ain't Missing You at All."
Great song.
Song. So, and I love John Waite. I'm big Babies fan. Even I think at that point I forgave Jonathan Cain. I'm not sure. Hang on, you can come get him. It's okay. Wyatt's coming to get the dog for a walk here.
Yeah, not a problem.
Alf, you got to go for a walk. Alf says bye. He's got to go for a walk. Come on. There you go. Yeah, sitting by daddy. So we're on tour with Jonathan Waite, and I'm listening to the band do sound checks because we're kind of co-headline with Cheap Trick and John. And I'm a big bass and drums fan, because I like bottom end, like that pulse.
Okay, yeah.
I'm listening to the late Frankie LaRocca, who was the drummer at the time, and John Regan was playing bass.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going, God, and the band was great. The Armstead was playing keyboards, and I forget the other guitar player, the great guitar player. But they were playing, and it's so solid. And finally, they stop, and John's walking down in the middle of the arena there, and because I was throwing the football around with our sound man at the time, and I walk up to John and say, "Hey, John, I'm Todd Howarth. I play keyboards." He goes, "Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, how you doing?" And he says, "Yeah, you're doing a lot up there." I said, "Yeah. I double with Rob, and I do the high harmonies and orchestrations." And he goes, That's good. You're really singing your butt off. And I said, thank you. I said, yeah, I'm actually, I'm promoting myself all the time. I said, I'm also a songwriter and lead singer, and I play guitar as well. He goes, really? He says, yeah. I said, I'm working on a project. I can't tell you what it is right now, but I'm working on a project. Maybe you should give me a number and, talk. And so, yeah, we did. So we talked throughout the rest of that leg of the tour. And I think later on in 86, he gave me a call, said, look, this is what's happening, blah, blah, blah. It's a 5-piece band now, but we want to bring it down to 4-piece. And I think he'd work perfectly. And he told me, so I'm working with Ace Frehley from Kiss. And we got a band. I said, okay, cool. So that's how I got into the project.
Okay. Now, were you a Kiss fan at all in the 70s? Because I know a lot of people feel like that. Nope. Okay, that's interesting.
And this is funny because when Richie, fast forward again, when Richie Scarlett and I got together, I knew Richie, after I got into Comet, I knew of Richie and, phenomenal guitar player, great showman,
Absolutely.
Style, songwriting and everything, singing, as well, but that's just character. Right. So, but it's funny because Richie Scarlett, I flew out to see him before we started Return of the Comet. I spent like 3 or 4 days with him in his place, just hanging. And we had a blast getting to know each other, you know. We are so alike on so many things. It's hilarious.
That's great.
The thing about Kiss, you know, not knowing a lot about him, like, what? Kind of like say, I mean, you respect them, you know.
Of course, right.
Obviously, you've got to respect the business and what Gene and Paul and Ace and Peter have done. But as a Kiss fan in California, not really. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I was all about, you know, I heard the news lately. You know, Van Halen boy.
Right, absolutely. You know, I have to just derail us for 10 seconds. How do you keep your voice sounding that good all these years later?
Thank you. Well, you know, fortunately, it didn't get the hell beat out of it because I had a lot of time in between tours and bands.
Okay.
I learned how to sing many different ways. I have about a 3-octave range.
Okay.
And I really didn't learn how to sing correctly until later on in life, pretty much after Frehley's Comet even.
Okay.
My voice was more resilient when I was younger. But now, when I go to sing, if I'm going to go do some shows or a live show or whatever, I make sure that my throat is a muscle, your vocal cords are muscle. So you have to exercise them constantly to be in shape. So thank God I learned how to do that because when 4 by Fate went to Australia, I did about a week's worth of, you know, vocal athletics beforehand. Then we get out there, we do some rehearsals, a couple rehearsals. Then we open up for Foreigner. Then we do Brian's Backyard Barbecue. And then we go to Australia, and I sang pretty much every night there for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And at the end of that, my voice is going, "Hey, old dude." I'm gonna, But thank you. It's pretty strong, as long as, you know, I don't get like a chest infection or cold or pneumonia, because the way my lungs are, if I get that, I can't sing. And I've been sick a lot in my life and a few times on tour. It's horrible. But when my voices, if my lungs are 100%, man, I can just blow it out of the weeds, you know.
Yeah. No, I remember last year a friend of mine and I saw Return of the Comet, and he's more of the musician than I am, and he looks at me and he goes, not only does he sound, meaning you, so perfect, he goes, most bands, everybody knows this tune's down a half step. He goes, it almost sounds like he's singing in the original keys. Like, that's how perfect his voice sounds. I'm assuming you do 2 down a half a step. But...
Well, yeah, when we started playing with Ace, you know, he said, I like the tune down half step, and sing 2.5 up a step if you want.
Right.
Yeah. But I like it because, and now I record everything pretty much in a half step down.
Okay.
On regular guitars. On my baritone guitars, that's all A440 and a whole different scale. It drives people nuts, and they'll never figure out my songs. The good thing about turning down, it gives a little bit of nuts to the song. My voice is not really, it's powerful, but it's not really deep and gravelly, and it's more the, you know, mid-range heavy to upper range high. So to bring it down a little bit is good. It doesn't matter to me. I can sing in A440. That's not a problem. But I do have to keep my voice in shape with athletic exercises so I can continue to sing like that. There's things that have disappeared. I'll be honest. But I can still sound pretty much like I did back then. Absolutely. On most everything. But thank you. I appreciate people seeing. I get a lot of those compliments, and I really appreciate people hearing and saying that.
Yeah, and it was one of the first things we noticed seeing you guys last year. So going back to joining Frehley's Comet, right? So you connected with John, you get in the band. How does the song Megaforce get introduced to Ace to say, hey, let's maybe do this song? Was that your idea?
No. As a matter of fact, I tried to steer away from that train wreck.
Really?
I call it train wreck, but only because there's a story behind it. But, you know, it took me 2 auditions to get into Frehley's Comet, because Ace, he wasn't really thrilled with me initially, because I'm not an overly lead player. I mean, I can play lead, but I don't care. I don't have to. Everything's a melody to me. And he wanted kind of something like Richie, who they can play lead off of. And Richie is, for a guitar playing trade-off lead, is more suited because it's closer to his style. You know, for me to play leads, I'm always more, you know, hammers and and Wham, well, everybody knows my style. So it took us 2 auditions to get in, and after I got in, because Ace was starting to realize, that I could really write songs and I had a good ear and I was, a pretty damn good singer. So I spent a lot of time in Ace's apartment in Manhattan, and we had a blast up there. I'd stay with him, and we'd go through all my catalogs. He wanted to hear all my music, so I go through all the stuff that I'd written, and we're going through the stuff there. I forget how far up on the God, it must have been at least 20 something stories up, but and he's pushing the hardest I've ever seen him work, and he's driven and he wants to hear the songs, and he comes across this song called Megaforce, and he said, "What's this?" I said, "Well, it's a song on record 707, and it's called Megaforce. It's for a movie." And he goes, "That's the name of my record company." And that was the only reason he wanted to hear it.
Interesting. Okay.
So he listens to it, and he said, "We should redo this and change some lyrics up," and and I'm thinking, no, I really don't, because that time I wasn't. There was not really bad blood, but I didn't really want to revisit the 707 thing because there was problems there, and another part of my life I just want to move on.
Sure.
But he insisted. He said, "Look, I really want to do this, and I'll change the lyrics in the chorus." So he changed the lyrics in the chorus. All the bang drum stuff,
right?
And people like it. And so we re-recorded it, and I sang it.
And you dropped the intro part?
Yeah. Yeah. Out. But no, it wasn't vindictively done. It just wasn't necessary.
It doesn't make sense to, right?
And, I sang it, and, Kevin Chalfant, phenomenal singer. He's still a phenomenal singer to this day. And all that water is under the bridge. We get along great now. And matter of fact, we're Facebook buddies, and we always talk about a lot of stuff. But he's a phenomenal singer, always has been, and he sang it so well. And I sang it to the best of my ability at that time, and it worked. And that's how we started playing it live, and the fans loved it. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And if you had to choose one version over the other, do you have a favorite, or are they like your children? You can't choose one.
No, yeah, you can't. You got to either drown both kids or.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So you said you.
I love Kevin's singing.
Absolutely.
And the original tune is an indelible memory of what I thought was going to be my success. So that's where my heart is. I'm proud that I redid it and sang it and did all stuff, and it was another part of my life. So yeah, that's why it's an easy.
Totally understandable.
Question.
Thank you. So you said before you were playing a bunch of songs for Ace, right? Now we know that you had a second song on the first Ace Frehley album, Frehley's Comet album, Something Moved. Right. Was that a song that you already had before you started working with him? Oh, well, okay. So that was part of the songs you listened to.
I think Something Moved was on the first record, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, first record. Yes, I had it in the works because I was going to start another band in San Diego. I love San Diego. I was just starting to start a band every time. It's such a pain in the ass. But anyhow, I had the tune. It was a longer version. It was heavier, darker, and nasty and mean. And until I started singing it, then it didn't really sound that dark. But so I had a version of it at that time, and I sent it. I was living in a place called La Mesa, which is just east of. I'm here near the beach now, but it's east of here. And I remember sending a cassette off of some tunes, and that was on the cassette to John and Ace and Eddie Kramer.
Okay, yeah. And
that I sent it off in a UPS like mailbox thing. I wonder if it's still the same place. I have to go check. Take a picture of it. But they got it, and they loved the song. And so they said, we definitely got to do this song, and we have this other song, Breakout, we think you should probably sing. That was the co-write with Richie Scarlett.
Yep.
Great song.
Absolutely. So good.
I got to tell you, it's funny because when Richie Scarlett and I started playing together, and I'm playing Breakout, and he goes, it's a little more choked off than that. I looked at him and said, Richie, I have never played it that way.
Right. That's so funny.
I've never played it that way. I said, but I'll play it the way you want it because you wrote it, but I'll be singing it the way I sang it.
But you guys traded off the vocals when you did that live, which I thought was really cool.
It was a very good idea. I mean, that was an idea that we had and John had. We all embraced it because, Rich is a different type of singer.
Absolutely.
But he's got that character, and he needed to be on there because he is a co-writer. And everybody knows me for what I sang. And we traded off the leads, and sometimes they could hear and sometimes they couldn't. But when it went off, it was great. So it was a lot of fun for the fans, I think.
It was. I was at the first show you guys did, and to me, I had a blast that night.
Oh, that's when I was coming on. I had the flu.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I was deathly ill. With first string of 4 shows, I had the flu 3 times that year.
Oof.
But anyhow, good. There was still some good playing.
It was a great show. I was sitting right in the front row there, and I had a time of my life. So the first Frehley's Comet album's out. It's a pretty decent hit, right? You guys are touring for it. It seems to me like the band's getting along really well. You go in the studio about a year later to do the second album, and when it comes out, I know some big Kiss fans are like, what happened to Ace? Where is all the Ace songs? This is like a Todd album, right? How much pressure did you? We understand now that Ace was pretty much non-existent in the studio a lot during that time, and in bad shot. How hard was it for you to try to get that together and get a cohesive album out for Frehley's Comet?
Well, it was. I wanted to do more of a meld. I wrote. What the hell was Loser in a Fight?
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a fun, simple tune. I wanted actually to have more co-writing thing with Ace, but he was sick a lot during that whole record. And quite frankly, he wasn't ready with songs. He didn't have any songs.
Absolutely.
He's a specific type songwriter, and so he's not prolific in that sense.
Right.
That's not to take anything away from him. He needs to have the right inspiration to write good songs that come out and that his fans could enjoy back then. When we went in to do the next record, of course, I at the time I was banging out songs all the time, and I thought, well, I have a lot of songs ready. Maybe we could get them going and put them in there. And so that's what happened. To make the record happen, I had songs ready. He did not.
Right, which makes sense.
And he needed to sing because the fans wanted to hear him sing.
Of course.
And but he also needed another singer, which I was.
Absolutely. And
there was a little battle with one of the producers that Andy Johns, I think it was the name, and great producer, but he didn't want Ace singing the songs. And Ace said, well, that's not happening, and rightly so, because it's Ace's band. It was Ace's band. So I just presented the songs. We got them done. And, there was a couple of songs there that, Ace didn't play anything on.
Okay.
It's Over Now was one of them. And actually he played on some of the stuff, and there's some stuff that I had to re-record because what he had on there wasn't working guitar-wise in the rhythm section. But we made it happen as cohesively as we could. It didn't quite work because the styles were still too much of a contrast. And we didn't have enough time. Ace and I didn't have enough time to get together and say, hey, look, how do we make this work for the next record? And I was thinking after Second Sighting, look, we got to go really balls out in my mind. We need to really work on some type of co-write situation so Ace can really shine as a lead guitar player that he is, still is. And that's what I wanted everybody to focus on. I did think that Ace should have sang a little bit less, and I sang a little bit more, and feature Ace just ripping it on the guitar. But hey, he was a Kiss, not me. So
right.
That was my.
To me, Second Sight and what it lacks is it's got a bunch of great songs from you. It lacked 3 or 4 good songs from Ace. Insane is good, but the rest of his songs on that album, for my money, are weak. Yeah, so you have like Time Ain't Running Out. Great song, and I get the feeling that you really like that. I know you've re-recorded it acoustic over the years. Is that a song that's kind of like near and dear to you?
Yeah, it is. Actually, I'm redoing it. I'm redoing all the Comet songs that I sang and wrote on an acoustic type style. I'm doing 3 solo CDs right now. I'm working on it.
Only 3?
Only 3.
Oh, you're slacking.
I know. 62-year-old loser here. I can't. But it's gonna be a bonus CD actually for people to buy the whole package, and hopefully my book will be done by then, which is later this year, early next year. But the song I like because it's got such a feel to it, which a lot of people like, and it's actually about an ex-girlfriend in San Francisco that I left after 707 fell apart, and I had nothing. I had to, move back down to San Diego. I had nothing. I lived with my parents then.
Okay.
Again, and the song's about her. So it's kind of near and dear to my heart, and it had such a good feel when John and Jamie Aldaker pounded it out, and I loved Ace's leads on it. I thought they're really cool, because Ace has a great style. It doesn't coincide with my lead style, but it worked in a lot of areas of my songs, which got me thinking then, like, I could write some other stuff that would really be effective for Ace, and the band. Because it was a band. I thought I wanted to be a band.
It was a band. To me, that's why it was Frehley. I know it was Frehley's Comet. It was named after him, but it was a band to me.
Yeah, and that's the way he wanted it. But he knew he was running it. But we all had high aspirations for it.
Absolutely. So, but then now the second single of that album ends up being your song, right? It's Over Now. So that to me that was cool.
Actually, I think it was a third one because there wasn't. Oh God, what am I mixing up now?
I know. I thought Insane was the first. It's Over Now was the second. And I think you guys actually filmed a video for Fallen Angel, which never came out, I don't think.
You know what? I think you're right. See, here's another thing. I lived it, but I don't remember.
Right, of course.
I don't remember. No, unfortunately, what happened with It's Over Now, and it was the era, or just past the era of power ballads. And I think it really wasn't I wrote that song actually for Cheap Trick to do back in the 80s. Really? Okay. Yeah, and they listened to it and went, wow, and then passed on it because a lot of keyboards and, it wasn't really, Cheap Trick-ish on level, although it could have been, but another story. I think that for maybe a lot of the Kiss fans and the new Comet fans, and a lot of them loved it, and a lot of them didn't like it, and they thought I was trying to do all keyboards. Well, that wasn't the case. Right. I mean, I didn't want to do a lot of keyboards on the album. As a matter of fact, when I came in to do the first record, a lot of keyboards were already done pre-programmed on the record, and I was listening to them and going, I wouldn't put that there because it just sounds Tinkerbell to me. But that's the way I only use keyboards for either balls and power and melody or pads and embellishments.
Right. Okay.
So it's a whole different subject, but I think for the label, they didn't want to put a lot of money in it because it wasn't featuring Ace.
Okay. So
they wouldn't push it. And I think it was just probably an awkward departure from Ace Frehley's Comet. Here's first, and here's a second, and here's a keyboard player and playing and singing, doing everything. Where's Ace? Oh, he's somewhere in the background. It probably didn't bode well for them and maybe for some of the fans. I gained a lot of fans, but it may have turned a lot of people off.
Yeah, well, I think long term, like I said, I think Kiss fans realize why Ace wasn't involved as much as he should have been. And to me, even back then, I loved the songs that you had. Even New Kind of Lover, I think, is a great song. So underrated. I like when you guys did Return to Comet. That was one of the songs I'm sitting there like, can I maybe get to hear that song live finally? I was I love that song.
Thank you. We never got to play that song live.
No.
Matter of fact, I wanted to do that in what would turn out to be the second part of the Iron Maiden tour, because we were going to do It's Over Now.
Okay.
Trying to figure out how we're going to do that because Ace doesn't play my lead style, but it is what it is. It was what it was. Right. But New Kind of Lover was written for another movie, but it never got accepted. And that was a fun tune. It was a lot of fun. But it never came to pass, unfortunately.
Okay. So then after that, you guys did the Live Plus One record, and you had the one song, Words Are Not Enough, and that was something you guys did do with Return to the Comet, so I was excited about that. When you were doing that, did you know at that time, hey, things are bumpy here? I think that was the last song you recorded with Ace, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I was, to be honest, I don't remember if I put anything on that or not. I may have added background vocals.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Fair enough.
But it was recorded, and I never really paid a whole much attention to it. Not on purpose. It's just because I really wasn't involved with it. So, the band and the labels can do, or Ace can, and the labels can do what they want because it's their monkey. So they're circus, and so I never really paid a lot of attention to it. The song is actually a damn good song, and we kind of grappled with how to play it live, and come up with a couple different ideas. And it was, matter of fact, we never, a couple times we got it down so it sounded pretty damn good towards the last couple shows with the Return of the Comet. When we first started, it was very rocky because everybody was trying to find parts, But we thought it'd be a fun tune to do, and I said, hey, here's an idea. We'll just get a syncopation initially, and I'll start playing, then we start kicking in this heavy way. And it's actually based on my arrangement of it. But we never polished it, I think.
No, I thought it sounded great live.
Thank you.
Personal opinion, I loved it. So, and I, normally had like the keyboards in it, the originals. So you guys didn't do that. So you knew it sounded different, but to me, it translated very well. So.
Thank you, because I did learn. I did have it on keyboards, and then we were all thinking, well, what if we took the keyboard out of it and just did a guitar? I said, it put some nuts back in it,
Absolutely.
For us to do it. And with Richie playing, I think it tends to be better because I can do the kind of syncopation type stuff on guitar. It's weird to sing with it, but I'm used to doing that too once I get it polished. But for all the components of the band and Richie, it worked better to try to do it all on guitar. I'll say that much.
Makes sense. Now, so after that came out, Ace ended up ultimately doing a solo album, and you weren't a part of the next one for Trouble Walking, right? At what point did you know, hey, this is kind of ending, Frehley's Comet is ending, and how come that ended?
Well, there was a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation, and Ace even alluded or led the rumor that I was let go because there's too much keyboards. To whatever degree percentage, I don't know. I never really listened to it. I just heard about that, and I thought I'd only put keyboards on really one song. My song, I would have taken those off. Like I said, I wouldn't have Tinkerbell.
And he had Dolls on the first album, which had a lot.
Yeah, Dolls, which I just it's his band, his song. A song I never would put on the record. Period.
Me neither. I'll take It's Over Now 1,000 times over Dolls.
Thank you, and I gained a lot of fans. The neat thing about the fans, I'll say this much: the fans, a lot of them didn't care for me because I wasn't that type of East Coast New York style. But a lot of them did like me. Like, well, hey, this guy does all kinds of different stuff, and he's got melody. So that's great. I learned. I got a whole bunch of different fans. But what had happened was after the Iron Maiden cancellation, because quite frankly, we ran out of money because we mismanaged, or the money was mismanaged for us in touring, and we can no longer afford to do it. So at that point, I was told that the next record that we were going to get in there and start recording again, like, geez, we just did a record, the next record was going to have to be all of Ace's writing and all of Ace singing. And it was not only a slap in the face, but it was just hurtful to me from the standpoint of pride and the fact that I had 3 young kids in the world, and I was just starting to get a lot of responsibility. I go, wait a minute, the only way I could really truly make money at this point besides touring is, and we didn't tour a lot, is publishing song.
Sure.
How am I gonna afford to be in this band if I'm not making any money that way? So I grappled with that for a while, and finally I called Ace. Said, Ace, I've got to bail. And he said,
so it was your decision actually to leave.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
I mean, on my grandparents' graves, it was. I said I'm gonna have to leave. And Ace said, well, I really wish you wouldn't. I said I don't have any choice. If I'm not writing songs or singing, I might as well be just a doormat. It's a real. I got to go ahead and take the gamble and pursue something else. which I did. A whole nother, oh, Jesus, years of stories there and in my book, but I left the project. And it hurt Ace, and I didn't mean to hurt him, but it's always been about business for me, and it's business for him as well. But I think he wanted to try to keep the nucleus, but it wasn't to be. And then I started hearing the stuff that we let him go because he brought too much keyboards into it, and like I said, not the case.
Right. So then, once you left Frehley's Comet, did you go back to touring with Cheap Trick, say on and off for like a 10-year period? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, actually, yes, you are. What happened? I went through damn near financial ruin in '89 and '90, and I ended up going back home. I went through a divorce. I went through some other issues with my oldest daughter's mother. I was being sued right and left. I'll just put it that way, and I ended up. I mean, I was bankrupt. Even though I didn't file for bankruptcy, I had nothing. I had zero. I had my Ritz Steinberger, my 2 Marshall heads that I bought from Jim Marshall in London in 1984. One I still have. I had a couple of guitars which I had to lose to sell to pay some attorneys, and I ended up living with my parents for another 6 months at that age with 3 kids.
Wow.
So that was bad. I started working regular day jobs again because I'm a blue collar guy. I don't care. I'll work, to what I have to do. And I started up a solo band in San Diego, just, trying to put something together. And we had marketed stuff to Gene Simmons' label.
Okay.
And he signed us. He signed one of my bands.
Okay.
Just at the time that grunge was coming in. So just as interest was in my band, we got dropped.
Here comes Nirvana, right?
Like, yeah. And oddly enough, I love all that stuff because it was fresh. It was new. It was raw. New type of energy and melodies. Like, wow.
It wasn't good for your business, but it's good music.
Yeah. It killed me.
Right.
It killed me.
Of course. Yeah.
And so at that point, in all that, I ended up talking to Cheap Trick again because they're all kind of, it's a small circle, Cheap Trick and Kiss and some of the management people. And Trick found out I wasn't doing stuff anymore. They go, well, you should come back out with us. So I went back out with Cheap Trick in 90, I think middle 90, all the way into 96. And then they let me go then for various reasons, which will be in my book.
Okay.
But then I ended up doing the silver DVD with them in 2000. And a few shows periodically into the early 2000s. And then 2008, I did live at Budokan again, I think for the 3rd time with them.
Right, okay.
And I was supposed to go back out on the Heart Tour with them. That never happened. But it's like, it's hard for me to remember these time frames.
Sure. How is it different playing with them compared to playing with Frehley's Comet for you? Yeah,
Comet was a whole different thing because depending on the drummer, the backbeat and the drums were very, heavy backbeat, and I'm playing guitar and I'm singing leads and it's more of a band feel in the groove that I'm kind of more comfortable with. But Cheap Trick, Robin Zander is one of the best rock singers in the world.
Sure.
One of the best American rock singers, period. Rick Nielsen is a tremendous songwriter. He's a cartoon on stage. He's a cartoon off stage. Tom Peterson is a solid bass player, a fundamental inventor of the 12-string bass, which I have.
Okay.
And Bunny Carlos, he is a style unto himself, which is indicative to the Cheap Trick sound. But for that, he always played on top of the beat and a little fast for me. It's like, and there's more about that too, but the band was still slamming. I mean, when we would play nights that were on and Bunny wasn't speeding up the beat for whatever reasons, playing, it felt comfortable and just wanted to lay it down. The band was amazing, I mean, it was an amazing band, and I love singing with Robin, and I fully expect one day that Robin and I will get out and do some stuff as a duet,
Awesome.
older years, acoustic guitars, and just wear it out, because I mean, I can imitate him, and he knows what I can do. But it's such a different thing. I mean, 707, Nugent, Cheap Trick, Frehley's Comet, Cheap Trick, my bands. I had to learn how to play with all kinds of different styles, of which I can still do. But it is an amazing spectrum, and that's actually a very good question. I'm sorry, I segued all.
No. So as you're talking about Bunny playing drums, it reminds me, going back to Frehley's Comet for one moment, Jamie Oldacre on Second Sighting. I thought his drumming was great. Some Kiss fans have complained, I'll say, that his drumming on the Kiss classics weren't what they expected. Did the band ever talk about that, or was he just welcome to do whatever he liked, or how did you feel about that?
Well, I was kind of like the lowest man on the totem pole there.
Okay.
I love Jamie. Jamie's a great guy.
He's a great drummer.
He's a fantastic drummer in how he plays and what he plays. Playing with Eric Clapton, wow.
Absolutely. Yep.
But my impression, the first impression of Frehley's Comet was Anton Fig.
Sure.
Very few people touch Anton Fig.
Absolutely.
His heyday. I mean, I've never played. I played with a few drummers that were just badass, loud, powerful. He was one of them. Vinnie Appice or Vinnie Appice, however. Carmine's little brother.
Yep. There you go.
The late Ricky Parent, who was in one of my solo bands, who went on to play with Enough's Enough. Phenomenal drummer. Jimmy DeGrasso from Y&T. Phenomenal drummer. He played with my project for a short bit.
You played with AJ Perro also, right? AJ Perro you played with in later years before his pet. Right.
He was another great player. And as Rob Affuso.
Yeah.
But AJ, had this powerhouse talent, and you got to be that type of powerhouse in a drummer. And that sits in the pocket with the bass player, and that's why I love John, because I like bass. I like playing bass. I love playing bass. Okay. I'm a nasty, aggressive Barney Rubble bass player, and John loves it when I play bass. He goes, okay. He says, I'll play it like that, but not as wild monkey as you're doing.
That's great.
So that's hilarious. But it was two different worlds. Anton Fig was just a monster. Jamie was powerful, and he laid down "It's Over Now" like it should have been laid down. Two different worlds of drumming. I wasn't over thrilled with his style, even though it worked on a lot of the songs. I would have rather had the power of Anton Fig, and a lot of fans picked up on it, and rightly so. A fan's gonna like what a fan's gonna like.
Right. Absolutely.
It's like they like Ace, they hate me. They like me, they like Ace.
Well, I don't know any fans that hate you. Maybe that's what you felt in '88, but none of the fans I talked to feel that way.
I think they've kind of chilled out to a degree.
Probably. As we've gotten older.
And initially, when I first heard about that, I was kind of like, well, that sucks. That's irritating. Kind of hurt me a little bit, not too much, but as I got older, I understood completely. And I never hold it against anybody. And some fans will tell me, well, I really like Richie Scarlett better than Ace. I said, I get it, no problem.
You said before, very different styles, and people are gonna have preferences. It doesn't mean one's bad; it just means you like one better. That's all cool.
Yeah.
So during the '90s into the 2000s, you put out a bunch of solo albums, also CDs, whatever we want to call them, right? So, talk about you 5 of them, right? Talk about those. To me, what I like is some of them have like a little bit of an edgier sound to it than So
well, they run the gamut of like Silhouette was the first one I did when I was playing with Cheap Trick again in the early '90s, and I can play drums. I didn't have a drum set, so I had to use a drum machine, which is actually one of my chord keyboards. And I would write the songs, and I had I think I had a reel-to-reel Tascam. I was using 8-track. And I recorded everything on that, and I had to program the drums for the songs, and I tried to make them sound as real as possible, and program them into the keyboard as a sequence. Come on up, Al. Come on. Dog back.
That's okay.
And it took me, on average, to polish each song about 40 hours.
Wow.
Of programming, because it just, because 2-track, I had to mix it. and make sure and things didn't always work out well. The production wasn't very good, but the first album, 9 songs, Silhouette, and that was kind of a continuation of the '80s. A couple songs on there I had planned on presenting for Frehley's Comet.
Do you remember which ones?
Yeah, there was "Don't Go" was one of them, another big power ballad, and then I had God, I have to look at it now. Yeah, you're good at this, and I'm slack. I've got the dog in front of me, but God damn it, I can't remember. But "Don't Go" was one of them, and there's a couple of brain fart.
Right. No, not a worry.
Anyhow, that was one CD that I put out, and production was horrible. And then so the next one I wanted to do, I wanted to play real drums. So I had the photographer friend of mine who was a drummer. He lent me his drums for what would become Cobalt Parlor. I started recording that in '96, and in the '97 I released that. That is a dark and brooding CD. It has all my new influences, of which I'm always learning. I love new bands. I mean, I'm hearing new bands now. I'm going, who is that? What is that? That's a great melody. That's some great raw sound. I mean, because you learn, you get inspired.
Sure.
So with the new grunge stuff, I love Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, two bands. Wow. Nirvana. I like Nirvana. I like Soundgarden. A lot of it, so there was a darker, edgier, because I used to be very dark. So I could hear this stuff and go, well, that's me 30 years ago.
Right.
So I like that. So there's a lot for Cobalt Parlor. It was very dark, and plus it was emotionally for me, it was a tough time because I had just I ended a relationship that was a year old, and I had 3 kids. I was really struggling with that and that responsibility, and this new relationship. She wanted to have kids, and I said, yeah, not happening. I can't do this. I can barely take care of the ones I have now. A little bit of personal information, but it's in the book. And so that album is very reflective of those tunes. Then I did another album called West of 8. I think was the next album. That's when I met at the end of that. I met my wife now, Valerie, of 21 years. Wow, 21 years ago. So
time flies, huh?
I actually had a band for that, a local band of some guys, pretty damn good actually, and I had high hopes for getting that band going and signed, and quite didn't happen. But we released West of 8. I actually had to let the bass player go and re-record all the bass tracks myself and re-sing all his backup parts. So it was a half band, half solo thing. So I wrote all the songs for that as well. And then I wrote an easy listening easy listening CD called Winter, which is a larger demographic of appeal and sounds and music, because I can do that. I'm doing that now, actually, the CDs I'm doing. And then shortly after that, I recorded, or not shortly, later on, I recorded Opposite Gods. Again, all me playing everything. And I had the drum early in the morning because I had to practice and learn the songs and the parts. And I'm not a real drummer, so I would, I'd peter out quickly. If I didn't get practice, I have an hour, you're done, you're out, because my legs are like, and it's not the greatest, performance on drums, but I Barney Rubble my way through that. And then I took some time off, and I was getting ready to do the stuff I'm doing now when John Regan and we'd always talked, and he said, look, how about trying to do a reunion with the Comet? Maybe we could get something going, and we started pushing that, which would eventually become 4 by Fate.
Right. And that's, I think, when you started to come more on the KISS fan radar again with 4 by Fate, because they heard that there was that potential for a reunion.
Yeah.
And I think you guys went through a couple of lineups before you settled on the one that actually recorded the album.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we did. We had, the original was Stet Howland from Wasp. Great guy, great drummer, great showman. and Sean Kelly from Crash Kelly in Canada, a phenomenal guitar player, great showman, and the band was all assembled with the help of Danny Stanton and Mitch LaFawn out of Canada, a great guy.
Yep.
They helped us assemble this, and we all got together to play, and it didn't quite mesh like we thought it would.
Okay.
But that's normal. So, but to the credit, I will tell you that Sean Kelly, I said, look, this is the way we're hearing the project. It's a lot heavier than you're playing, and you need to sit back in the pocket. And I swear, within half of the day of the rehearsals, he got it. He goes, okay, I got it. And he did, and he nailed it. And it was really good. And Stet, Stet got into the way that John and I play very heavy backbeat in the pocket, very bottom end. It may not sound like it to people, but when John Regan, Anton Fig, and I did Track the Song, just the three of us, my God, it was heavy, powerful. So we got the band going, get ready to record. Stet has a car accident the very weekend we're starting to record. We panicked. We had to replace him. AJ Perro got in there. He did 6 tracks. We're getting ready to do the next 6 tracks. In the time we did that, we had Sean Kelly had to kind of phone in his parts because the work process in Canada was really difficult. And then he bowed out. He said, look, guys, music is good. The song's great. It's a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be, and I'm just not really into this. And we said, okay, no problem. We get it. I understand, And we're still friends, still a great guy, great player, of course. And that's where we got Pat Gasparini in there, who wrote "Follow Me," one of the songs on the record. Actually, he ended up writing a many because he's a prolific and great songwriter. And so he ended up joining the band. And then, unfortunately, AJ Perro passed away early next year, and that's when we got Rob Afuso involved, and that was the last incarnation with Rob, John, me, and Pat Gasparini.
Yeah, and I have to say, I saw you guys a few times in concert, and if anybody ever says to me, "Oh, any new music that you know?" I play for them the song "Moonshine." I think that is absolutely one of the best songs from the past 10 years. I love that song.
It is a fun song. I mean, and Pat is a great, aggressive, ambitious songwriter, and he's a tunesmith, and he writes, and he's got a great sense of melody, and all his influences are of the era that I got re-influenced by, Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots. So when he showed me a song, I go, "This is great shit." We got along great, and he's the youngest in the band, young kid. So. And then he showed me Moonshine, and we was like, "Oh, this is epic!" And we had so much fun with it. And we had more plans for that band as well. And it unfortunately, sign of the times and the interest and the cost, it just wasn't advantageous to keep it going. So we kind of shelved it, and I was getting ready to go and do this solo thing that I'm doing. That's when we were approached to do Return of the Comet.
So, and before we talk for a moment or two about Return of the Comet, during the 4x Fate years, I think it was 2017, Poughkeepsie, you actually end up opening up a show for Ace Frehley. So how was that, right? So was that like the first time you had seen Ace since you left the band? Like, how was that night?
No, I had seen Ace a few times after that when he came back to play with Kiss down here in San Diego. They came in. That was in '96, late '96. I went to see him at the San Diego Sports Arena here, and then I had seen him at other Kiss conventions just briefly.
Right. Okay.
And then I had seen him at a couple shows, not many, here in San Diego. So we had talked, and then he ended up living here in San Diego and never contacted me or called me. Why, I don't know. Someone would have to ask him. I mean, there's always speculations, but we'll leave that as speculation. So yeah, we had run into each other a couple of times, and actually we had tried to get the bands to play together, and never quite lined up. And then we always said, look, we should open up for you or do something with you because it drawing in a lot of fans.
Sure.
Well, finally, the schedules worked, so we did do it at the Chance, and that was a lot of fun for the fans, you know. And we did a couple songs with it, Rock Soldiers, and what else did we do? Breakout, yeah.
Yeah, well, let me put it to you this way. So Ace plays a club by my house here, 15 minutes from my house, and I hate to admit it, I've skipped a few of the shows through the years. Poughkeepsie was like a 3-hour ride for me. I drove to Poughkeepsie because it was the two of you guys on the bill. I was like, I've got to see this. This is going to be a great night of music all around. So to me, I agree with you. The draw of the two bands together, it's a shame you guys didn't do more shows together.
See? That's it. Well, I think it was a financial thing. I'm not going to spin around to be on Ace, but based on what he needed or what he wanted, it wouldn't work to have us there. Right. I mean, we can't play for free. We weren't making a bunch of money. I mean, we were making very little money. I mean, to be honest with you, for me to come from San Diego, I would come from San Diego on a red eye, land, go to rehearsals, sing for the next couple of days, try to get some rest and do some shows. It kind of an ass kicker, for an old dude. But we didn't want to. We were going to try to gouge venues, but you got to make a little bit of money. You're bringing in.
It's the music business, right? It's the music business.
Two techs and a sound guy. It's like, oh God, we got to make a little bit of money.
Of course, absolutely. So in 2018, then you guys did the Cruise Fest. And Vinnie Vincent joined you up on stage for a couple of shows. And to this day, that's his only live electric performance in like the last 25, 30 years. How was that night for you guys performing with him?
Well, that was eye-opening. I really don't know Vinnie that much. When you don't, you're not. I mean, there's some Kiss songs that are phenomenal. I enjoy them. I like them, and they're fun. Actually, I wouldn't mind playing a couple of them, singing something because they're fun. They're fun for the audience, fun for participation, and good songs. But I never really knew much about Vinnie. I knew his replacement. I knew several guitar players that were going to replace Ace, and then I knew of Vinnie Vincent being in the band. I never really heard his playing or his style, so I didn't know anything about him. But I was told, and the guy's a shredder. He rips. He's this. He's that. I said, okay, well, he's part of the Kiss family tree. He should be good when he gets up on stage. But wow, no, it didn't. It was not at all what I expected. But then again, I didn't really have any expectations. He comes in. With an entourage of people and a guitar that has a broken strap, no case on the guitar. I guess it was his famous guitar with the points on it. And the guitar has got damage to the end and it's been repaired, but not well, Okay. And anyhow, so he gets up there and we were trying to do rehearsal at night, the night before, just to kind of go over. And he's all in his gear because he'd done a Kiss appearance thing, and he gets up on stage, and his guitar's not in tune, or had to retune it, and he had a locking nut lock on it, so we had to redo that, and Pat had to help with that a little bit, I guess. And then he had this fuzz box for the boost for the Marshalls, which you didn't need, and it was staticky and noisy, and the ground loop, so we just got rid of that. And the rehearsal went fine, and I was singing what I was going to sing, and we're going to do what we're going to do, but he didn't want to play lead. He just, Pat, you play lead. Yeah. So Pat said, okay, well, I can play anything, and he did, and I was like, well, that's odd. Why isn't he going to play lead? So, but it was just an appearance for him. I mean, I imagine he'd been rusty, and he'd been taking a break for a while, and he decided to come back and explode on stage in whatever manner he could or was willing to do for whatever reasons that may be. I don't know what they are.
Well, I'll tell you, I went to a private event of his like 9 months later, and he was 100% still able to shred the way they said he could in the 80s. And I asked him, why didn't you shred like that when you were with 4x Fate? And he said, I had to show those guys respect. It's their bands. I'm not up there to shred over them. I'm there to just be with the fans, and I want to respect them. So that's what he said to me. I said, oh, I understand that.
That is good to know. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
it's the first I've ever heard of it.
Okay.
I didn't really discount his ability or his talent. I thought because see, in my life, I've had there was a time where I didn't pick up a guitar or sing for 6 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I understood the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows of this. And so I thought, well, maybe he's going through something that is none of my business or none of anybody else's business. And he doesn't feel like playing, or he doesn't feel like he's up to par. Right. That is nice that he showed the respect. We would have loved for him to smoke. Right. Because, that's what he was known for doing. Because we're not insecure play. I'm not an insecure player. Right. Or singer or anything. I'm like, if you can bring it, because it makes everybody look that much better when you do that. But that's interesting to hear. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. So now, Return to Comet the following year, right? So you guys do a handful of shows. To me, what I loved is it brought the two Ace Frehley Comet eras together. And like you said, you and Richie, very different types of singers, very different players. How is it also for you to play some of those Frehley Comet songs like Animal and Give It To Me Anyway that you weren't a part of, But
I had a blast. I loved playing that stuff. It was fun. I mean, it was actual fun to do. John came up with the guys came up with the medley idea for Give It To Me, or what was it?
Rock, Be Rocked. We Got Your Rock. I call it the Rock Medley.
Yeah, it was actually fun to do. Yeah, I enjoyed doing Richie's songs because it was part of his heritage. They were fun to play, and we had a good time. I really enjoyed that part of it. There were things that I didn't understand about Richie's stage persona, which initially like, what the hell's this? But that's Richie being Richie.
Exactly.
Which I learned. Oh, okay. Well, that's what he does. I just said, look, when I'm saying lead, you really don't need to lean in front of me to play your lead. Just go over there. So I actually had to set up microphones on the corner end of stages. Plus, I could hear myself better. Right. Because if I was up here and he's blasting, I can't. That type of thing. But it could have been a real fun time had it been able to continue more. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We had shows set up for Europe and I think East Coast in September, which of course been canceled because of this thing that's out there. That's a whole nother subject, but I'll leave that alone.
Absolutely.
I think we could have done a lot more with this project. Like I said, the first string of shows, I had a nasty flu. I had the flu. I had influenza A and B and laryngitis influenza. Wow. I'd never heard of that. It cut my voice like virtually in half. I was just barely able to sing the first 4 shows. And then the last 3, I just, boom, it came back. I would have liked to have taken a little bit further. But the variables came out and it just wasn't to be for now.
So you think it maybe potentially after this pandemic, if people are allowed to go back to touring, that's something you guys would consider again?
That has put so many different things on the table. I think maybe the trials and tribulations of that project may be water under the bridge, or any project for that matter, just for the sake of saying, look, we have the ability now to get out and play live. Let's do some stuff. I mean, for us, for the people, they'll be starving for stuff. Of course, they're going to want to hear, all their favorite stuff, and it'll be, if it comes back the way it was, it'll be a push and then adjustment, and it'll settle down and back to where it was. But at this point in my career, I'm still going to continue for a few more years in this business of music. But at one point, I'm going to need to take some time and just go evaluate what I want to do with my future. I'll always write songs. I'll always record, but I'm putting one heavy schedule on myself right now with the 3 solo CDs and the book. I'm working every day on it, as well as working on managing my family's business, real estate. So, I mean, I'm exhausted right now. I came home tired, and I'm tired. Sometimes I'm a little more coherent in my sentence delivery, but I'm not exhausted.
Well, no, I appreciate you taking all the time to chat with me. So the new CDs.
I appreciate being asked.
Thank you. And the new CDs and the book, if all goes according to plan, and plans are only as good as the day we're talking about it, right? But when would you hope that they come out?
Yeah, I'm hoping that that they do come out at the end of later this year, but I really got to haul ass. My son is working on rebuilding my website right now. My website's been down for like, I think over a year because I was going to have it redone, and I just been sitting on it because there's been other priorities. But yeah, I've got some stuff that's going to come out. We'll see what happens with it. And there's a lot of music there that'd be heavy balls out rock. On the heavy rock, easier stuff will be something that somebody wants to hear what I can do otherwise. And the acoustic Comet stuff, people are going to love it, I think.
Awesome. And would you ever consider releasing, earlier on you were talking about like when you played a tape for Ace like in 86 or so and had all different songs and something moved you said was a lot heavier, different than what ended up. Would you ever consider releasing that stuff?
I don't know if I could ever find it. I would have to look at archives.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
A box. Yeah, well, see, it's horrible that I didn't save a lot of that stuff. Even like a lot of the memorabilia, I don't have a lot of memorabilia from the bands I play with because I always thought of it as a business. I mean, I was into it and but it was a business. Like, okay, well, I don't need to save all this crap. But I never really saved a lot of stuff to begin with. And I have mostly Ace stuff and Frehley's Comet stuff now, but not a lot of that either. A good question about that. I might. There's some stuff that I have for a band called Hardware that was after a Frehley's Comet that I might release that has some really good stuff on it. But that's I'd have to get into the 80s cassette. But you know what? That's a very good idea. Thank you again.
Okay, yes.
You're brilliant. You're brilliant.
I'm glad we did this, because I could tell you Todd fans would love it, Kiss fans would love it, Ace fans would love it. I love hearing those things. So hopefully you still have the tapes and hopefully you can find them.
You know what? You're right about that. And I do put value in that. I think it's just for me, I spin so many plates every day that I think, oh yeah, I just need another appendage to spin.
Well, you're telling me, right? You're telling me you're working on 3 CDs in a book, and I'm like, how is that even possible?
It's tough. I started the book two Septembers ago, and I have to always go through it and reread and add. I haven't worked on it a lot. Matter of fact, it's on this very laptop that I'm doing the Skype from. But I've got to add more to it. I think right now I'm just pushing for all this. I'm trying to get all the basic tracks for the CDs done so I can start doing overdubs and finalize it. But the problem there is this ear rings like a bitch after about 2 or 3 hours of recording. And I don't know what I'm hearing anymore, or I don't trust it. So I go, that's it. Right. 4 hours, I'm done each day. Sure. So each day I'm recording, and usually 7 days a week. Wow. Wife and I will do whatever, we try to get an outing, in the boat or on bicycles or Harleys or whatever. And then that's sporadic now with this thing that's going around. So, I'm a workaholic on that level.
I can tell. Definitely. Well, I'll be excited to hear about those releases. Hopefully they can see the light of day this year. If not, we'll patiently wait.
Early next year, and Mike, always keep in contact with me.
Absolutely.
I feel bad when I don't remember certain things or people. But I when I see the face and hear the cadence and the voice, I go, oh yeah, that guy.
Right, absolutely.
And your enthusiasm and your research and your recall is always so beneficial.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I don't remember when that was,
No, I appreciate that. And certainly when the CDs are ready and the book is ready, if you want to come back on, I'll help you promote it.
I definitely will. I will say it's out there. Please, everybody that contact or have done interviews, I will do them again. Let me know. I'm on it.
Awesome. Anything else you want to chat about or tell the fans before we wrap up here?
I just want to tell the fans from all, especially the Kiss fans, and sometimes people think it's a lot of BS, but I've got a lot of fans from all my career bands over the years, and the new fans that I acquired with Kiss, Ace Frehley, Frehley's Comet, they are the best fans. They are the most loyal. If they get into what you're doing, and even if they don't, I've got a lot of fans that are still more Kiss oriented than they are my stuff. But once they get to know me, they go, "Wow, you're a straight up dude." Really enjoy your perspectives, your thoughts, your this, your that. And by far, I think they are the fans that stay with you for as long as they can and they translate this to their parents, and to their kids, and I guess grandkids at this point. But
Yeah.
I want to say thank you to those fans for always being there, and it makes it all worthwhile when I do put stuff out and people say, "Wow, this is good," blah blah blah. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, the feeling's mutual because last year, I'll just wrap with this, at the Cruise Fest that you guys performed at, you were just hanging out in the hotel lobby beforehand, and my buddy actually came over, had never met you, and he was like, "Hey, do you mind if I take a picture?" And you just hung out with him for like 10 minutes talking, and afterwards he's like, "Todd's like the nicest guy in the world," and like afterwards you commented on one or two of his things on Facebook. He's like, "This is just such a down-to-earth guy, Todd is. It's just like he's like one of the guys."
And I appreciate that because I am when I can find the time, and I'm not exhausted. I will always be in that mix because if it wasn't for the likes of these type people, I wouldn't have had the career, albeit up and down, not their fault. I wouldn't have had the career that I've had, and I always appreciate that, and I always try to make time, unless I'm so tired, like I can't hear. My voice is shot or whatever. I mean, the workload now is even heavier for me than what it used to be. But I'm always grateful for those people that recognize that and mention that because it means it. I take it to heart.
And I'm going to mention one more thing. Sorry, just as a point of example to drill home your point. 2018 Indie Kiss Expo. There was like 10,000 different Kiss related guests at that expo, if you remember, right?
Yeah.
And everybody was charging, as I expect them to, for pictures, autographs, whatever, whether it was Lita Ford, Anton Fig, Bobby Rock, right? You name it. You guys, 4x Faith, were there, did not charge a penny. You took pictures with anybody, signed anything and everything everybody wanted. And it was another one of these instances where I said, "Yeah, these are guys that are here for the fans." I mean, you guys could have charged even $10, and you would have walked away like, "Wow, that's so cool. They only charge $10." You were like, "Nah, come on over. Anything you guys want, free. Pictures, autographs." I thought that was really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, John and I, we really don't. I mean, we're not giant stars, so it doesn't take a lot of time to do the request, but it still is time, and we feel strongly about not charging for that because if you invest in the fans, the people at that point, they're probably going to want to hear, see, or buy the CDs later on, and that's a gambling investment I'm willing to take. And at this point, I will probably never charge for. In the appearance, I will never charge for pictures and autographs.
Yeah, well, that wasn't lost on me. Like I said, the Kiss Expo, after the return of the Comet shows, you guys did pictures and autographs and never charged anything. So I wanted to acknowledge that before we close because I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. A lot of people have said that, and I'm glad they acknowledged that, and because we wanted that to be a good offering and presentation.
Awesome. Well, Todd, thanks so much. I look forward to the releases coming up in the next year or so, and stay safe.
Stay safe and keep in contact. And
Absolutely.
Again, thank you, Mike. Wonderful job. Very wonderful job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a great chat.
And
Thank you very much.
Everybody out there, thanks for listening.
Thank you, Todd. Take it easy.
All right, take care, brother.
All right, bye-bye.
See ya.
Alrighty, there you have it. Once again, I'd like to take a moment and thank Todd for being very generous with his time and spending nearly an hour and a half with me. I had a lot of fun chatting, Todd. I look forward to chatting again in the future. If you're watching on my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of the podcast feeds, make sure you subscribe there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Till next time, see you later.